Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Friday, February, I believe the 6th. Yeah. All right. So some 8 energy nonetheless. But listen, this is going to be rather short. I know I keep saying that. I'm trying to get more punctual with that element. All right. But I hope everyone of you is doing well in this crazy world, young Jesus say. Listen. Why is it, speaking of Young Jeezy, you ever had like an artist you listen to, I don't care what you look like or what genre you apply that to, and it's like, it's almost as if that's part of your day? No shit. But I mean like throughout the day, like maybe give or take 10 or 12 times a day, you're listening to that artist, you know what I'm saying? Or you're accessing their celebrity for a duration of time. So I was thinking, as many of us know, it's Glorilla business, right? Now, personally, I love Glorilla's music, and I think she's pretty fine, honestly. Despite her, this whole, if you're big and you're in the industry and this and that, we're still people. We still have individualized opinions, okay? You don't see it. I used to fall into that before I get into the other 9 or 10 minutes of this. I used to fall into that, like, as soon as you learn about the industry, then everybody that they give you is somehow terrible. That's why society is so inundated with exposed, like all this exposed stuff. And it's almost like if you had 3 doors and somebody, I'm not trying to be cryptic, but let's say you have 3 doors, but you own all the paths behind those doors, right? So let's say you're this Wizard of Oz mastermind nigga, and you unhatch one door and you tell everybody that the real answer's behind that door. Meanwhile, you're maintaining, the other 2, right? So it's kind of strange that people can be led astray with this whole celebrity thing. With that being said, that doesn't dissuade what goes on behind closed doors, all right? That's enough for the doors and all. But so back to Glorilla, right? There's this, I ain't gonna call it a fact, but word on the street is she doesn't look out for her people. I'll just put it that way. Then I've even had, and that's what kind of inspired me to do this short little rant, people on here that probably 98.7% don't know Glorilla at all. Never seen her in her life. Never seen her in their life. My fault. But they feel that they are entitled or qualified to speak on what concerns her money, Now you can tell by my voice and my kind of professor-esque like personality, I'm not some disturbed fan on here getting in my feelings, alright? I told you how I feel about the woman, and I told you what I thought about her music. What I'm saying is, people are finding this story or this thread as a way to pour their own judgment into it. And I wanted to just talk about 2 particular fronts. If it sounds like defense, you can take it that way. If it sounds like, I'm some sort of industry plant and I'm sticking up for whatever, it's irrelevant to me. But I always go back to J. Cole's line. Somebody will help me out with the song in the comments. But until you get it, how could you know? I'm sure other rappers have said that, but the way he said it and the arrangement of it and the music, it just always stuck to me. I believe it's Firing Squad, if I'm not mistaken. until you get it, how could you know? That's not the whole verse, but obviously that's, that's the end of it. So what I mean by that, again, not this petty defensive mind your own business, but in a more mature sense, what the hell does that have to do with you? These same type of people are the types to complain about the economy and complain about everything being bad. And I don't think their intention is to be doom and gloom, but they perceive power is by, emotion equals power. For people who are really powerful, who run things, they know that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So it just baffles me how people live vicariously through celebrities, not only through merchandise, you know what I'm saying, or dance moves, more tangible, obvious stuff, but even in thought form, they let their thoughts, creep through the freaking crevice and make themselves valid on what they can say about, and it's all based on something that we don't even know is true. If you know the situation and you, have just heard about it, then you know what I'm referring to. It was, it's kind of in-crowd type thing. In other words, it started internally and then this led to that and then, So my point is, you don't really know what's behind the curtain. You don't know hidden clauses in contracts. You know what I'm saying? It's so easy to put horns on someone and call them a, demon or this worshiper or some type of, dark person just because you hear about something that you don't even know about. It's really lunacy if you think about it. So my first point is I'm not sad about it. I'm just saying, like, it's very pathetic that people think they have a leg to stand on when it comes to speaking on those matters. You know what I'm saying? The same people who keep pushing opportunities away from them keep manifesting the wrong thoughts, manifesting the wrong type, because they speak that victim emotion as power language. It's bullshit. It really is. I'm not a robot. I'm not a cyborg, right? But ultimately, how is that powerful? How does your voice contribute to what somebody should do? Just go sit down somewhere and stop being so invested in what the hell celebrities are doing. And no disrespect to anyone out there, but if you were to sit down and refine your attention on your own life, you may come to the conclusion that you might be doing better than a lot of celebrities right now. A lot of things have not been the same since the pandemic, and everyone knows that, but we never transpose that thinking to the realm of celebrities, which in, the pedestrian eyes, they're untouchable, black cards, unlimited accounts, and all of this, but we don't know that. That's all I'm saying. We don't know that. So to waste your time saying what somebody should have did with their money, that's the same old 1960s rhetoric. What somebody should have been doing. We're going to cut this shit out. Anyway, the second very brief point I would like to make concerning this is, again, like, how do you know about her contract? How do you know about the clauses? How do you know that certain things were no-goes or off limits? Do this or else. You understand? It's like certain people can live through celebrities and do everything they do, but when celebrities are in some, because honestly what I sense, and I know I'm kind of jumping, but I think there's just certain what word did I use? Clauses or sectors of contracts that people can't do. And another thing you got to realize is you don't, like, you see somebody's net worth on, say, Google or Wikipedia. You don't know how that money gets spread out. You don't even know if that's their money. And that's not just for Glow. That's for, a wide conglomerate of people. You don't know about how these things are intertwined. So, to people, the same people who will criticize a Elon or Billy G, or I won't mention the other person who, most people would assume next in line. Anybody who would mention a very successful person and say how they're so evil and they're so, satanic and they're just so against everything in life without giving them any type of credit, they'll turn around and cast petty judgment on something that they literally know 0% about. And they feel that because the person has the same complexion or, perceived background as them, then they should just justify it based on that. It really baffles me. And celebrity in itself, I'll end with this. I'm 1 minute over. Celebrity in itself, you Latin folks out there, you can, I don't mean Latino, I mean people who study, the language of Latin, whichever one of you fools made that choice, like me, will be able to polish this and correct it. Celebrity really in itself means almost like an act or a ceremony. So while we think today's celebrities, we're trained to think a person, red carpet, this and that. But a celebrity in itself, by that old definition, which came from, I think, like the 1300s, the same period where the word black was registered as dead, lifeless, pale, barren, it means like an act, a ceremony in itself. So these names, all these events and legacies, and for instance, a good one. I'm, born in October. Fuck did I say that for? So I feel like a very strong attraction to artists born in October. Artists, not only musicians, but just, anybody in that realm of, like, I guess you could say Libra influence. Like, where one person would get 7 out of 10 or what they say, I might get 9 out of 10. That's all I'm saying, right? Because astrology is way deeper than sun sign. But anyway, so Snoop Dogg to me has always represented what he was made to represent, right? We don't even need to go into that. So take every image, every habit, or whatever that comes to mind when you think Snoop Dogg, and instead of thinking it as whatever his real name is, born October 20th, this and that, think of him himself as like an act, almost like a parade, like an assembly of ceremonies lodged into one person. Feel me? That's just how I'm starting to see, like, as you look back throughout the years, not just with rappers, but with any celebrity, they always house or they're the beacon of a particular legacy, meaning a set of behaviors. And this doesn't mean that it's good behaviors. I'm just saying the formula always breaks down to that. They're brought forth to represent a ceremony or an initiation or an ushering in of a particular trend. And that's really all of it is, you know what I'm saying? And lift that trend to the sky. Sealy, or Celi, which that back to that Latin etymology goes to seals, where we get sealing and celebrate. All that shit talks about, lifting up, raising it up. So it's very interesting how these words break down. But yeah, man, you should not be focused on what somebody is not doing. Like, you should understand what you can do for you and yours, and don't speak on shit that you don't have, and don't try to emotionally weave your way into how you feel about something, because at the end of the day, you really don't know.